Hello YouTube, I'm David Frankel. I'm here at Berlin Hauptbahnhof.
We are now going on board the ferry.
So here I am back at Nuremberg 4 years later. Good morning, today is Monday. I've got one full day here in Copenhagen. Tomorrow I'm going to Gothenburg. And so here I am in Sweden, as I remarked last time, home of PewDiePie, Minecraft and IKEA, and also Greta Thunberg.
Train to Strasbourg will depart from platform 7 in approximately 7 minutes.
So here I am, back in Hamburg.
Auf Wiedersehen, bitte. Ja, ne? Willst du? Willst du mit an die Tür oder was? Ja. Weil du Jäckchen anhast?
So we've just left Kassel. Running about well over 1.5 hours late. And we were originally due to arrive into Nuremberg at 11:30. So it'll now be something like 1 AM by the time I actually get into Nuremberg Hauptbahnhof. Hopefully the hostel won't mind me having a slightly late check-in. I've made it to Nuremberg. There's a night jet train. Good morning, it is now Friday. I'm here in Nuremberg. About 2 PM, but had a slightly bit of a lay-in this morning because I got to the hostel at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I've got the rest of the day just to kind of explore Nuremberg, which I've sort of seen a bit of so far. It seems like a very nice city, this. Got the old kind of, what I assume is the old city wall that's still mostly intact or probably rebuilt. And then that's the U-Bahn under there. It's kind of built to look like the other side of the wall. Welcome to InterRail, the series from my 2 months of interrailing around Europe by train, from London to Budapest the long way. I'll visit Brussels and stay with some family friends in Luxembourg, before heading east into Germany, visiting Cologne and Berlin. I'll then take a diversion north, stopping off at Hamburg on my way to Copenhagen via the famous train ferry which has since ended, before heading back into Germany to visit Nuremberg, Munich, and meeting my parents at my former home of Frankfurt. I'll then head south into France, through Strasbourg, Lyon and Nice, before running along the Mediterranean and through northern Italy via Genova, Florence and Venice. I'll then head north through the spectacular Brenner Pass and right across Austria, before finally finishing off in the Hungarian capital and my other home city of Budapest. In part 4, I'm starting at the old Bavarian city of Nuremberg, full of both medieval and modern history. I'll head south to the Bavarian capital of Munich before doubling back to visit my former home of Frankfurt am Main, where I'll meet my parents. After that, I'll head north to Limburg to spot some high-speed trains, before heading south to visit the enormous transport museum at Sinsheim, stopping off for the night at Karlsruhe. I'll then ride Karlsruhe's famous tram-train to Baden-Baden, before finishing off in Strasbourg, just over the border in France. There's so much going on in this canton. On the other hand, not very much going on in this fountain. Perhaps it's a tribute to Piccadilly Gardens. So I've made it to the Imperial Castle of Nuremberg, behind those houses there, but it closes at 4 o'clock, which is in 20 minutes. So this will be a flying visit. So I've come to the Nuremberg courthouse, where of course the famous Nuremberg trials took place. Courtroom 600 is the most famous room in there, but you can't go in because I didn't know when I walked in, but apparently they still actually use it. So it's only open to the public on Sundays, but you can get a sneak peek of it from the floor above, which is where the permanent exhibition space is. And there's also lots of information about the trials, how they worked, all very interesting. This is of course one of the two main World War II related historical sites in Nuremberg. The other one is where the Nazi rally was, which is also a little bit further out the city centre. I might go and see that tomorrow. In the meantime, it's raining now, so I'm not going to do much more walking around the centre. I'm just going to call it a day, go back to the hostel. So here I am back at Open House, which is right, you can literally see my hostel from there. From here, there it is. I'm going to pop back and then I'm going to go out and buy some food. Make use of the fact that for the first time in a while I actually have a kitchen in the hostel. So I can make my own food, which means realistically pasta. Good morning, today is Saturday and I've catastrophically failed to get out of the hostel as early as I hoped. I was aiming for 9:30, it's now 11 o'clock, dear oh dear. So I'm off. First port of call is the Deutsche Bahn Museum, which is the main attraction of the day. So it is now 1:30. Just spent a bit of time walking around and exploring the Nuremberg Transport Museum, or the Nuremberg Deutsche Bahn Museum. It is the same museum, not two different ones. Quite annoyingly, two of the trains which I thought they had here have actually been moved to the satellite site in Koblenz. There is a Deutsche Bahn Museum in Koblenz as well, which I didn't know about when I visited, but found out later. I was rather annoyed about. So it looks like I'm going to have to go back to Koblenz sometime and see those trains. Not on this trip though, probably. Of course, we have the Sinsheim Transport Museum coming up. That'll be after we visit Frankfurt. In the meantime, I'm going to make a snap decision as to whether or not to go visit the Nazi rally ground, which is also now a museum. That's Nuremberg done. I'm now going to go to my next stop, which was added to the schedule at the very last minute, Munich. Here is my train to Munich. It's an icy tea, or an iced tea. It's catchier to just call them iced tea. It's come all the way from Rostock, and being an iced tea, it tilts from side to side, a bit like a pendolino. So here I am at Munich, or München Hauptbahnhof. I've got 2 nights here. This was a completely last-minute decision. I was not planning to come here at all. But basically what happened is that I couldn't stay with our family friends in Frankfurt, which means I just have to stay in a hostel for 3 nights before my parents arrive from Oman, at which point we'll go to a hotel. I decided, well, what am I going to do for 3 days? So I might as well go somewhere else. And Munich seemed to be the most convenient place to go. So I've been to the Hauptbahnhof before, an entire 6 years ago, when I previously took the train from Manchester to Budapest via Paris and Munich. So I had a few hours to change trains here.
Now, here we are in the concourse of Munich station.
But I've never actually come out and seen the city, at least not since we left Germany. So over the next few days, that is what I'm going to do. So I'm on the eastern end of the train shed at platform 26. Yep, platform 26. And I've just realised to get to my hostel, walking there, it's quite close, but I should be on the other side of the station. Are there really 26 platforms at München Hauptbahnhof? Good morning, it is now Sunday and I'm still struggling to get myself out of my hostel before 11 o'clock. It's about 11:15 now. I just lack the motivation to get out of bed early and get going. So I've been travelling for 2 months, but you know, could be worse, could be 2 p.m. It's only 11, so I've still got pretty much the whole of the day to go out and explore Munich, my unscheduled stop. And I think I'm going to start with the tram. Another case of a tram platform that isn't really a tram platform. Pops you out onto the road. So having failed to get out of the hotel at a reasonable time, I missed the first walking tour. Usually there's a sign in the hostel saying walking tour pick up at this hour, and I usually make it, but on this particular occasion the thought didn't occur to me until this morning. But luckily there's a second one at 2 o'clock, so I'm going to pick up that one. And in the meantime, I'm going to visit the German Museum. The electric power section of the museum looks suspiciously like a Dalek lair, to be honest. There's also a whole bunch of little circuit experiment demonstrations there, which basically take me back through A-level physics. Eddy currents. Remember those? Probably not. The Deutsche Museum, German Museum. It's a lot like the Science Museum in London. There's absolutely loads in there. Didn't see maybe a third of it or so, but yeah, loads of sciencey stuff. But for some reason this morning my brain just feels like absolute mush, so I didn't take very much of it in. But it's an interesting museum, and it's only 5 years if you're a student, which is reasonable. I'm now off to head into the city centre to Marienplatz, where I'm going to join that walking tour. So here I am at Marienplatz, the sort of centre of, the touristy centre of Munich. It has a clock tower which does a little routine, apparently 3 times a day, a bit like the one in Prague, and according to our tour guide, it's the most overrated tourist attraction in Europe. Meanwhile, here's a dragon. I fancied an ice cream, so I've got an ice cream.
Let's get the hell away from here.
So it's now 20 to 6. It's not much else I think I'm going to do today. Tomorrow I could do the Olympic Stadium or the Nymphenburg Palace, or maybe both. Either way, I will take a train to Frankfurt. So having spent some time hopping from station to station to see trains coming in and out of Munich, I'm now here at Lion, which conveniently is a short bus ride away from Nymphenburg Palace. And there it is, Nymphenburg Palace. It is enormous. There's definitely no way I'm exploring the entire thing. Wonder if there's some sort of tour you do of the central section. So now it's about 1 o'clock. I'm going to go walk around the gardens. So this is my train to Frankfurt, my first ICE 3, well, at least since we left Frankfurt. I'm sure I've probably been on one as a 3 or 4 year old, but I don't remember it. Quite excited. Funnily enough, it goes back via Nuremberg. I'm doubling back on myself, not that it matters.
Ich musste werden. Der vordere Zug
And our nostalgia tour of Frankfurt starts here. The little model tabletop railway in Frankfurt Hauptbahnhof station. I'm pretty sure this is exactly as it was 10 years ago. €1. Usually say this was a piss take, but I'll make an exception. Oh, there we go. And so here I am, Frankfurt home place of yesteryear. Frankfurt, where the trams are turquoise. Frankfurt, the only place where the Brexit dividend is actually a real thing. Anyway, my hostel is literally just over here, so I'm going to do absolutely nothing tonight. But tomorrow, first thing I'm going to do is meet up with my mum, who is currently on a plane, having an overnight flight. Good morning, it is Tuesday. I'm back outside the Hauptbahnhof, having checked out. It's time to go meet mum and get some breakfast. So I've met up with mum, who flew in overnight. We've had some breakfast, bought a week ticket, and we're now going to pop over to our hotel to drop off our bags. So having dropped off our bags, we made a plan to go into the city centre, but then we realised we're right next to the Natural History Museum, or as we used to know it, the Dinosaur Museum. And as you can see, there are some dinosaurs out on the street, and right across the street is where mine and Noam's nursery was. Our nurseries, we actually went to two different nurseries, but they were both round the corner from each other. And I distinctly remember being right across the road from the Dinosaur Museum, which I'd always bug mum to take us to. Can we go to the Dinosaur Museum? Sometimes we'd go after nursery just to see the dinosaurs. Shall we go to the Dinosaur Museum, mum?
Again? We've been here.
Oh, come on, it's been 12 years.
12 years ago.
Brings back memories both from my childhood and from A-level geography. Tectonic plates. And here we have a replica volcano which erupts from time to time. So just around the corner is the Palmen Garten, sort of closed garden we've got to pay to get into, which we will do, don't think today, but later on when Dad arrives. We used to come here all of the time, we absolutely loved it. And of course there is a little train as well, just to sweeten the deal. So here we are at Bockenheimer Warte, just near our old nurseries and everything. There's a lovely tower over there, and this is a building, the Bockenheimer Depot, which, as we've just discovered, was an old tram depot. It's now an events venue. Did we go here? All U-Bahn station entrances are equal, but some are more equal than others. And this is definitely one of the more exciting entrances to Bockenheimer Warte, which is the U-Bahn station. We basically just walked around, and have been walking around for the past hour or two. It's this is brilliant. Who made this and why? And can I shake their hand? It's like Piccadilly Circus, which is enormous. So we just came down to the River Main just to see this bridge, and there's some mysterious train track just along the river here. I wonder what it is. A quick search on the internet shows that this is the Frankfurt Harbour Railway, and is actually still used for occasional freight trains. There are also some passenger specials run by the Historic Railway Frankfurt. So you get occasional steam trains or special rail buses along here. the next heritage service apparently is on the 3rd of November, which is annoyingly close. But not quite close enough. So there's a garden here full of very unusual trees. I mean, regionally unusual. You got bananas, date palms.
Little purple flowers
Mm-hmm.
with the very slim
Yeah.
that belongs together. That I have one pot like that.
Should we go get some late lunch?
Huh?
Should we go get some late lunch?
Yeah.
So it's not just any Vapiano, this is the Vapiano. The original one. Not like the original Vapiano, but the original Vapiano that we used to go to in Frankfurt. So I remember this corner, and this is one where you can actually see the pasta being made. Or at least you could. At least you could back in the day. Perhaps they don't do that anymore. But back
No, that's why we came here.
back when I was little, I used to watch in fascination as they made the pasta. Yes, this is definitely the square, I remember it now. So my dad used to work just round here, and sometimes we'd meet him for lunch when he was on his break. Good morning, today is Wednesday. I'm joined by Dad, who's flown in from Muscat. We're now visiting the Palmen Garten, another cornerstone, as Mum said, of our time here in Frankfurt.
Says you can't understand without knowing. Do you?
Let's come back to me. Right, major disaster, major blow to our nostalgia plan. The famous, infamous Palmen Garten Express is not open. I vaguely remember this bit being a kind of loop. They've clearly rebuilt or remodeled this part of the park, and this is now an indoor station. So it has its own building, which, as you can see, is clearly closed. But this used to be, well, it still is, the Palmen Garten Express, which we used to get to every time we came to the Palmen Garten. In any case, we'll just explore the rest of the park. We'll have to do without the train. So we've come to the carnivorous plants section. I feel a weird compulsion to try and stick my finger in there, but that's probably why it's behind a glass case.
then back. You can do it fast, or however you want.
I think you're gonna crash it, Dad. So that was the Museum of Communication. Now let's go and see the Museum of Film. So we've just had a lovely dinner, a lovely French restaurant with a rotating menu. They do a different region of France every month apparently. We had the Bordeaux region, which was nice. We're now ambling back towards the U-Bahn. Meanwhile, this bridge is covered in padlocks. What do you think of all the padlocks, Dad?
Don't know if I like them or not. Kind of like the idea, but a bit ugly.
Good morning, it's Thursday, we're at Festhalle and we're going back to Hanau Steinheim, where we spent the first few years just a bit outside Frankfurt before we moved into Frankfurt itself. The nostalgia trip continues. Here we are at Hanau, not Hanau Hauptbahnhof, but Hanau Steinheim. Steinheim being the smaller town near Hanau where we actually lived. So for the purpose of simplicity we would just say we lived in Hanau, or even just Frankfurt. So here we are walking the streets of Steinheim. An old phone box here. It's been turned into a micro library. Nice. Time to get a bus. Get the next one though. After visiting our first old house in Hanau, we visit the house we spent our latter years in Frankfurt in Hausen. Hello, it's Friday morning. We've come to Wiesbaden. We're here at Wiesbaden Hauptbahnhof, which is a surprisingly large station. It looks about the size of Liverpool Lime Street for a city that I think is considerably smaller. It's at the end of the Rhine-Main S-Bahn, lines 1, 8 and 9. Anyway, we're not here to see Wiesbaden itself, rather we've come to ride the Nuremberg Bahn. So here we are at the end of the line 1 in Nerotal, and here is the Nuremberg Bahn, a water-driven funicular railway. So here we are at the top, overlooking a fantastic view of Wiesbaden, and we worked out these, I think, are vineyards. Didn't think they grew grapes this far north, but apparently they do. You can get Rhine-Main wine. Feeling when you finally get home after a long journey. After lunch we've come to the Grossmarkt Halle, or the Jewish Memorial. It's this old market square that is now a memorial to the deportation of the Jews from Frankfurt. We're on our way to get an exclusive tour of the ECB. Here we are outside the ECB. We've just had an exclusive tour thanks to our family friend Camilla, who lives here in Frankfurt. We're off to go get some drinks. We're now on our way to the Hauptbahnhof. They're off to the airport, but I've got another night in Frankfurt. To the trains. There are no trains. No S-Bahn, no mainline trains, no nothing. So Mum and Dad might have to get a replacement bus. Or perhaps they'll just hop into a taxi. Here we have the Ersatzzug rail replacement bus. Dun dun dun! Here I am in a completely abandoned Frankfurt am Main Hauptbahnhof. There are no trains. So I've just hopped on a tram, come to the Hauptbahnhof, and then I remembered, wait, I'm not supposed to be going to the Hauptbahnhof, I'm supposed to be going to the Palmen Garten. I've just totally gone the wrong way. I'm half asleep, just went on autopilot. I'm continuing my streak of being a moron and not paying attention. I boarded the U4 in the wrong direction, and now I'm really bad practice where I've had to turn around. So here I am, after finally having gotten the right train in the right direction at Bockenheim of Rotte, heading towards the Palmen Garten. Let's go ride the express. So here I am, back in the Palmen Garten, having grudgingly paid the €7 entrance fee again this time, just so I could pay extra to get on the train. Such is life. But I couldn't leave without going back on the Palmen Garten Express, which is what I've come here to do. And hopefully today it should be open. About 12 o'clock I was planning to dash off to Koblenz to go and see the other half of the Deutsche Bahn Museum. Went to Nuremberg, a lot of the trains I thought were there, actually I was told they're in Koblenz and it's only open on a Saturday. And apparently it closes at 4, well it's now 12 because part of the line to Koblenz is closed. I'd have to get a replacement bus, which means it would take 2 hours to get to Koblenz and then a bus from Koblenz to the museum. All in all it would be 2+ hours of travel for probably about half an hour in the museum, so I've made a snap decision and decided it's not worth the faff to save the Deutsche Bahn Museum in Koblenz for another day. It is conveniently on the way from the UK to Budapest, so perhaps I could stop. So here I am at the end of the line in Hausen. Terminus of the U6 was, till recently, the terminus of the U7. From here you can carry on by bus to the Northwest Centrum, which was our local shopping centre.
Die ist so in 20 Minuten ungefähr da.
Nächste Station.
Die rufen mich aber an, dann rufe ich dich an. Sie soll klingeln. Könntest du dann, wärst du so lieb und stimmst dann in Form.
So I've walked down to the depot. To be honest, none of this really brings much back. You can't really see the trams themselves very well, although I can just about see some of the older units there, which I recognise as being the units of the U6 and the U7 back in the days. So I decided to take a detour via a beaver reserve, which apparently opened in 2008, the year we left, and it's right near my house, so we'd never been, but it's just a park with beavers that had released into the wild, which are very cute. I've now come to the Northwest Centrum, a shopping centre we used to go to. Good morning, it is now Sunday. I've left the hostel that I was staying in for one night. Even though we gained an hour overnight because the clocks have gone back, I'm still an hour behind. I was planning to leave at 8, it's now 9. Not good. So today I'm leaving Frankfurt. I'll be finishing the day in Karlsruhe, but first I'm going up to Limburg Süd to spot some very fast ICEs. Then I'm going to hop down to spend most of the day at the Sinsheim Transport Museum. look, it's Malev. So the first thing you see when you get off the train is this absolutely enormous, funny looking plane right in front. And you might be forgiven for thinking, oh, it's a Concorde, because it does look a lot like a Concorde. But it's not a Concorde. Because if you look at the flag, that is a Soviet Union flag, because this was the Tu-144, which was the Soviets, basically their rip-off version of the Concorde, which I think was even more of a complete and utter failure. In fact, that may not be the Concorde, but there is a Concorde. It was at this point in the trip where I managed to accidentally drop and break my microphone. Whoops! So that was the Sinsheim Transport Museum. When I was deciding whether or not to go to Limburg this morning, I was worried that going to Limburg would leave me with not enough time here. But actually, my fears were misplaced because there's still an hour until it closes and I've totally finished. So I'm leaving. I've now got one night in Karlsruhe. This model railway seems to have had a bit of a collision. How on earth did that happen? So here I am at Karlsruhe Hauptbahnhof. Now I'm going to hop on the tram to finally get to my hotel and just do absolutely nothing all evening because I just want to sit down. It's taken me 2.5 hours to get here after leaving the museum, which is a bit poor. Morning, it's now Monday. I've awoken from my hotel room in Karlsruhe. Just spent one night here. Don't think I'm going to spend much time here. I have a pleasant walk through the city centre before hopping on the tram train to get to Baden-Baden, and then from Baden-Baden I will take the train onwards to Strasbourg. So I decided, before I hop on the tram train, I'll come and see Karlsruhe Schloss Palace, and it's got a lovely big garden as well, which you can walk around. The Schloss Garten also happens to have its own little miniature railway, but unfortunately, like the Palmen Garten Express, it's only open on weekends, and today is a Monday.
Hauptbahnhof. Umsteigemöglichkeit in Richtung Ettlingen sowie Rastatt.
So I've popped my head up to the mainline platforms at Karlsruhe, not because I'm giving up on the tram train, but just because I want to look around. Speaking of which, there's one now. It's not the S7, but it's something else. It's the S81. Meanwhile, here's a French TGV train on the other side of the station. Now, where else in the world can you find trams and high-speed TGV trains on the same rails? This is fantastic.
nächsten Anschlüssen RE nach Karlsruhe Hauptbahnhof. Abfahrt 16:28 Uhr.
So here I am in Baden-Baden. Baden-Baden. Having just ridden the tram train here from Karlsruhe instead of hopping on the TGV direct to Strasbourg. Obviously, to get to Strasbourg now, I have to change again in Offenburg, which is slightly annoying. Anyway, the historic city centre is quite far from here, and it's already like 4 o'clock, which is later than I was expecting to be here. So I don't think I'm gonna do any exploring. I think I'm just gonna hop on the next train and make my way to Strasbourg. So here I am, not at Offenburg, but at Appenrier, because apparently I should change here instead. But it turns out this station is kind of a triangular junction, a bit like Earlstown. And if I want to get the train towards Kell, i.e. Strasbourg, I should go down and find a different platform. Apparently what I want is platform 9. This is probably the only station I've ever been to where there are platforms 1, 2 and 9. Nothing about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8, just 1, 2 and 9. Sure, why not? Oh, this really does have a kind of middle of nowhere feeling. It's like trying to find the Abbey Line platforms at Watford Junction. In Strasbourg, now in France, having crossed the border, the River Rhine. Been following the Rhine for quite a while, so that's Germany done. The rest of the trip will consist of France, Italy, Austria and Hungary. That is the end of part 4 of the InterRail series. Thank you so much for joining me on this exciting journey, and we will continue with France in part 5. Please subscribe. So here I am at Marseille, St. Charles. Okay, slight problem. The 9:58 to Nice doesn't seem to exist.